So a Little Apple Plus series is boasting with the most Emmy nominations yet. And of course I had to check the show out. So are you ready for the oddness to continue? Then come along. So Severance tells the story of Mark, who leads a small team of office workers who underwent the same medical procedure to have their memories split between their work life and their private lives. But when an ex-colleague meets Mark outside of work, it begins the journey to discover what's the truth behind the company which they work for. The casting, I must also say, for this show is very interesting to me. For instance, Mark is being played by Adam Scott, which we all know from Parks and Rec, which play here is more of a yes everyday man, almost like a zombie state, eat, sleep, go to work, watch TV, sleep again, and doing a whole cycle. So he not deviates too much from it ever. So it's quite interesting to see. Then other characters we would, of other actors we were immediately recognized is one of the workers is Dylan, which is played by Zach Cherry, which we all would know from the Spider-Man films, who asked the Tom Holland Spider-Man to do a flip for him while he's selling hot dogs at the corner of a street. Then other characters we also meet here is Irving, which is played by John Turturro, which we all should know from the Matt Reeves Batman, who played Falcone, the mobster. And another character we meet here is called Harmony Coble, which is almost like the branch chief of this this Lumencorp division. So which is played by Patricia Arquette, which you all should know from us diehard CSI fans, who played in CSI Cyber as the department head of CSI Cyber. So quite interesting to see her playing the both sides. You don't know if you can fully trust her. Is she part of the medical procedure, or is there something, a sinister line beneath that? So she's quite good at playing both that sides for me personally. And then a weird cameo I didn't expect coming in here at mid-episode 2 and episode 3, who plays a character called Bert, which is part of the research team, which is played funny enough, I'm not joking, by Christopher Walken of all people. So that's quite interesting to see. And also it looks like the research team is almost seen as the black sheep of the family, with even Dylan looking down on them and almost in a disrespectful tone. So it's quite funny to see that even in this weird business dynamic, there's even hierarchy tiers present here. So that's quite interesting to see. And let me not forget, the director of the series is none other than Ben Stiller, which we all should know from his work in Zoolander, the other one I can't name, and then The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, where this series seems to be more of the same dramatic tone like his work in The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. But I must say, Ben Stiller does have some directing options here that's very good for me personally, making us feel small or confused when they weaving in and out the hallways of the company. So there are a few moments where they are not afraid of quiet moments, which is quite good for me personally, because that's where the viewer like us can try to discern questions or try to see if they have seen something we might have spotted in the shadows, in the corner, or in the woods or something like that. So that's quite, for me, quite nice, and it works with the whole atmosphere of the show, being this, not quite sure if it's this hoity-toity Silicon Valley business culture that thinks they are the bee's knees, or just foreign invaders from outer space trying to influence human history or whatever. So all that quite packs up nicely in the show. So let's go on through my episode reviews. So let's go through the episodes. Episode 1 is called Good News About Hell, which shows Mark is suddenly being promoted in his job after the company and the previous workers' sour relationship ended, which which left enough room for Hallie to join the team, which Mark would help oversee her re-evaluation and reintegration into the team, which ended with the questioning phase, where Hallie became more disorientated and more combative, which caused her to grab the intercom system from the table and throw Mark with it, which left him with quite the scar on his head. And this is also at the end of the workday that we see the first transition from how they can switch from their work life, work memories to their personal memories, which is basically when they go into the elevator, some frequency helps make the switch, and we see then Mark leave the building, going to his car, thinking he did a great job at work today, and seeing a note on his windshield which said he had a little accident at work, and for the company to make it up for him, they gave him a little a voucher to a popular restaurant in the area. And Mark, deciding to treat himself, goes to that said restaurant, and that's when he meets his previous co-worker, which tells him that something at that company is not 100% on the up and up. And this is also where we see that his ex-co-worker went through the same procedure, but later he couldn't make the switch anymore, which that virtual break between the personal and work life became intermingled once again. So that's when we see him also leave him with a birthday card with an address, should Mark wants to know more about what's really going on. So that was the end of episode 1. Episode 2 sees Hallie being trained by Dylan and Irving about macro data refinement, which is basically her sitting at the Apple II computer and watching pulsating numbers and waiting for a scary sequence of numbers or terrifying numbers to show itself, which she then must click on, put it in a virtual box and just close the lid. So this is the first instance we get that something is not 100% on the up and up here. And this is also in this episode where we see Mark deciding to take the day off to visit his ex-co-worker, and seeing that he's living in this dilapidated greenhouse where he's trying to fight the winter cold, and with Mark being a sort of a good person, decides to take him home and let him stay in his basement. And this is also in this episode that we understand that the medical procedure is not 100% effective, because although his ex-co-worker went through the program or through the procedure, he's starting to confuse whether old memories start to flutter back in, or whether he's in his private life. So we see that intermingling happen more and more, and this disoriented feeling he gets from being suddenly unsevered, as we can call it. So that's what the main crux of episode 2. Episode 3, called In Perpetuity, sees Mark struggling to get Helen to be introduced into the team, with her being constantly fighting with him, questioning everything and trying to get fired or leave, everything being suddenly revoked by head office, which is quite weird to see, with Mark making the final decision to have the whole team go to the in-house business museum to help quell all the Hallie questions he gets received on a daily basis. And while at the museum, they suddenly realize that Hallie is trying to escape, and with Mark trying to stop her from leaving or getting into the wrath from the company, sees her being detained by security and taken to the break room, which they call it, which is basically she reads a statement again and again and again until she believes it, which is almost I could say it's almost like the scene from Simpsons where Bart has to write everything out, which is she just has to say it with her words constantly over and over again instead of writing it out, which is also quite weird to punish your employees, which I think is quite odd. And also the whole museum was quite, it was even itself was quite an oddity to see firsthand. But yeah, that was the overall first episode, 3 episodes review from me. I must say I liked the show being very mysterious and being weird personally, because for these of us who watch series day in and day out, we are normally by episode 3 have been spoon-fed enough to know how the whole series is going to go from this point on, where we know that okay, they need to find this person, or they need to expose this person as being bad, or they have to find out this person's weakness. So it's quite interesting for me that even 3 episodes in, there's more questions constantly I'm asking myself and trying to decipher, which is quite for me a good point for a show to have. Like in this era where everything is off spoon-fed and we know the points we're gonna hit throughout the season. Where this is in this series, you can't point at any singular person because you don't know if it's part of the medical procedure they underwent to, or is there actually a sinister motive here on the go. Even the company, in a larger sense, I can't decide if it's maybe aliens being brought into the world and trying to decipher human experience, or is it just a hoity-toity, Silicon Valley type business who thinks they have a fancier style of work ethic than any other. So that's quite interesting to see. Personally, for me, it's something new. So that's the whole vibe I'm getting, and which I'm liking personally. The whole atmosphere and the pausing and the waiting for stuff to happen, and this slowly unfolding of the a box or a paper to show us the whole layout at the end with what is actually going on. I must say also, this series is one of the most interesting opening sequences ever. It leaves me more confused every time because there's even at one point a blob following a person, so you don't know, is it maybe these aliens physical bodies, if they peel out of the human suits, or are this just the negative emotions attached to the business just because they're thinking on a different way, or is this whole macro data and a refinement, maybe they're trying to influence history or stuff like that. So even the title sequence keeps me wondering and guessing, where for us who watch series, normally the title sequence give us more of a hint or what to look out for. So even the title sequence is very mysterious and not sure what's going on. So that's quite for me a stellar point to put on a series in this era where everything is formulaic and we know what points are going to be hit. But so that's quite good. So that's what I think of Severance. What did you think of the first 3 episodes of Severance of this season, maybe? Let me know in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, do all that fancy stuff. And until next time, bye.